Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is 7th grade math. We are on lesson 1.1, and in today's lesson we are going to understand absolute values and ordering of rational numbers. Please make sure you have this copied down correctly on your notes, and we will move forward. Alright, so here is question number 1. First of all, let's just remind ourselves what is absolute value. We know absolute value is the distance away from 0. So let's just scratch this out for a little bit. Don't pay any attention. Let's just go over just a few rules. So if I have a number line, I'm gonna draw an arrow because that means it goes on forever. I have the number 0 here. Let's say I got 4 tick marks. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I said, well, what is the absolute value of this 4? These two lines right here, I'm going to put this in a different color, in blue. So those two lines right there means the absolute value of 4. So absolute value of 4. Well, what is the absolute value of 4? We know the absolute value is the distance away from 0. Well, let's see. How far is this 4 away from 0? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. So the absolute value of 4 is 4. Now, one thing we do need to know is that absolute value will always be positive. I'll say that again. Absolute value will always be positive. So what are we doing in today's lesson? Well, we're going to have to see or use inequalities. So we have this one, we have this one, and we have this one. How do we know which one is which? Well, let me give you guys a little trick. So this one right here, the way I remind myself of how to know what it is, well, to me this looks like a crooked letter L, and I know that less than starts with the letter L. So how do you know your inequalities? Well, once you find one, you know the other one. So the crooked L, the one that looks like a crooked L, is the one that stands for less than. Alright, so now that we know that the L is less than, that means this one right here is greater than, and this one is equal to. So how will we solve this problem? Well, first we're going to draw a number line. So we have a number line. Always remember to plot your 0. 0 does not always have to be in the middle, but sometimes it is beneficial for you to see it and visually see it, you know. Alright, so let's plot in the positive number first. Do I have to draw 23 check marks? No. But if you draw a few, it'll be easy for you to see. So we got 23. We draw a few this way, and then we have negative 23. Well, remember, absolute value is the distance away from 0. So how far is 23 away from 0? Well, it's going to be 23 bunny hops, right? So we know that's 23 spots away. So the absolute value of 23 is 23. And now if we go backwards, right, towards the left, the numbers do get smaller. Well, how many spots is negative 23 away from 0? Well, it's going to be 23 spots. So if we're talking about absolute value, you remember absolute value is always positive. So we have positive 23 and positive 23. Is this going to be less than? Is this going to be greater than? Or is this going to be equal to? We know that this specific question, the answer is going to be equal to. Alright, let's try another one. Here we go. So let's see, remember from what we just talked about that absolute value will always be positive. I'll give you guys just a second to write this down if you want to pause the video as well. So let's see, the absolute value of negative 142 is going to be 142, right? Positive, because we know absolute value is always positive. And then over here you have the absolute value of negative 157. We know the absolute value is always positive. So you have 157. Well, let's see which number is greater, or you know, which one is bigger. Is 157 bigger than 142? So if you drew a number line, you have the number 0. 142 would probably be over here, and then 157 would be over here. We know that the further right that you go, more to the right, the bigger the number is going to be. Make sure you write this down. Bigger the number is going to be. So 57 is more to the right, so we know that we are going to use, remember this looks like a crooked L, so what does that mean? 142 is less than 157, or 157 is greater than 142. Alright, let's move on to the next one. This one looks like a tricky one, but do not get confused. Alright, so let's answer our absolute value first. So what is the absolute value of negative 78? Well, we know absolute value is always positive, so the absolute value of negative 78 is going to be 78. But notice what is on the outside of these absolute value signs. Well, it's a negative sign. That means that's just going to drop down, and that turns again into a negative 78. So if we drew our number line, and if we go back to, what did we say? The further right you get, the bigger the number is going to be. So if we draw our 0, and then negative 78 would be here. The more left you go, the more left, the smaller the number. So anything that is on the right side over here is going to be bigger than anything on that side. So if we know that it's bigger, we know that we're going to put, again, the less than sign. Negative 78 is less than 52. Alright, word problems. I know you guys do not like word problems as much, but all I can recommend is for you guys to try to imagine it, try to picture it in your head, and draw pictures. I promise you it's going to help if you draw some pictures. So let's see. Let's try to answer this question. You and your friend are swimming against the current. Alright, so if we, if let's say you're in the ocean, that's bad wave, let's see, bad wave, and let's draw a beach. So this is the beach, and you are here. Please do not make fun of my drawing. Alright, you're swimming against the current. You move forward 6 feet, right? So you move forward 6 feet. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. You move forward 15 feet. Move forward 15 feet. Your friend is not a strong swimmer, so he moves back 6 feet. So there's 2 of you, and then this person goes back 6 feet. All right, let's see if we can answer this question. It says write each amount as an integer. So if this was the starting point, right, we're talking about 0, and we had a number line, you went forward 15 feet, so you would be over here 15 check marks, right? And then your friend would have went back 6 check marks. That would have made him negative 6, positive 15. So write each amount as an integer. So we have negative 6 and positive 15. And then it says write excuse me, write each amount as the distance swam. Well, I guess we did that both. So you swam 15 feet. And your friend swam only 6 feet. Alright, that was a pretty easy one. Let's move on. Now let's put this question from least to greatest. The hardest part about this is probably solving the absolute value, because once you got the numbers, all you got to do is put them on the number line. So let's try to solve everything really quick. Let's start right here. First of all, write all of these down. Well, what is the absolute value of negative 25? We know the absolute value of negative 25 is positive 25. So now we have 14 and 25. We're going to get rid of that. Well, let's solve this first. What is the absolute value of negative 34? Well, that's 34. But remember, this drops down, so that turns back to negative 34. So now you have negative 34. You have 28, just regular 28. And then, well, the absolute value of 0 is just 0. There's no positive or negative 0. So let's put these numbers on a number line. I'm going to start off with the easiest one. And we have 0, right? So that goes right in the middle. Let's see, which one is our biggest one so far? 28, 25, 14. So it looks like 28 is our biggest. Cross that off. Then we have 25. Then we have 14. And then this is a negative 34, so know that it has to be on this side, and negative 34 is probably over here. So we have to put these from least to greatest. It would be negative 34, 0, 14, 25, and 28. Alright, let's move on to our next question and our last question. Same rules apply as last time, so let's put these all in order. So let's try to solve them one by one. Well, what is the absolute value of negative 16? Remember that absolute value is always positive, so the absolute value of negative 16 is positive 16. We got rid of that. 10 is just 10. The absolute value of 25 is 25. Cross those off. That's a negative 16. And then we know that the absolute value of negative 43 is 43. Remember, absolute value means the distance away from 0. So let's draw our number line. We got, I know we don't have the number 0, but it's just easy for us to imagine it if we do put a 0. So let's see, which one is our biggest number? Looks like 43 is our biggest number. So I'm going to work my way from the biggest to the smallest. So cross off 43. Next is 25. So we got 25. Then we have 16. Then we have 10. And then remember, negative numbers are on the left side of the 0. And here's negative 16. So let's put it from least to greatest. We have negative 16. We have 10, 16, 25, and 43. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how we do absolute value.